There we go. Let's see here. There we go. Alright, I can hear myself. It seems like it's doing all the streaming things. Let me go ahead and pop this out. The chat box pop out, and here we go. Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Karnak. This is Star Wars Armada Explained. It's your buddy, it's your pal. Thank you for joining me for my Ask Me Anything. It's been a while since I've done anything Armada related, so thank you for your patience. I'll get into why some of that is, what's going on, and then we'll get into the AMA segment. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plaster up the link to show that I'm live. The real live show is live. Where do I get the link for that? It has been a little while since I've done this. This button. Here we go. Share. Copy video link. And then bring it up on the Discord here. There we are. Okay. Oh, the Facebook group. Star Wars Armada Facebook group. I know, so interesting watching me just sit here and do nothing as I post out links. And I'm live. Oh, I got somebody who's posted up a question here. Let me grab that. All right. Hey, Lord Cola. Hello. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. I'm just focused on my... It's so nice having two monitors now, because now I can have all my crap out of the way and I can throw up whatever I need to throw up on the main screen. And Old Owls, hello. Thank you for joining me. Okay, it looks like the connection there is good. This is doing good. Perfect. And that's all posted. Okay. So, hey everyone, Starfish, hello. So, now that people are joining in, so again, I'm Karnak. Thanks for joining me, or you might know me as Derek Schultz, or if you go to the AMG forums, I'm a forum moderator for AMG. One thing I need to state up front at the start of the stream is that I am not employed by Atomic Mass Games. I am not an official employee. I am a contractor. I do work for Atomic Mass Games. So anything that I say is my own personal opinion. It does not reflect Atomic Mass Games' official stance or policies. I do not speak for Atomic Mass Games. I do not represent Atomic Mass Games. In no form whatsoever, anything I take should be taken or misconstrued as something that Atomic Mass Games will or will not do. Is there anything else I need to say? Pretty much just, I'm a dude who just loves Star Wars Armada, just like all the rest of you, and I don't have any official capacity doing anything for Atomic Mass Games other than when I do anything on the rules forum. That's my only official capacity whatsoever, is when I'm answering questions on the Atomic Mass Games rules forum. I don't have any other officiality about me other than just, you know, I know things. I drink and I know things. Hey, Grayson, welcome. Thanks for joining me in the live stream. Eric, hello. And I probably will repeat that multiple times throughout taking questions and things like that about, you know, again, personal opinion, doesn't reflect Atomic Mass Games. Oh, my goodness, is audio muted and reading chat under the dinner table. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Dennis. You're not going to get a whole lot of feedback from that, but I'll say hello to you. Hello. Sorry, you have to have the audio muted. All right, so what's the thing? The first thing I want to touch on before I get into the questions that I've collected. I know a lot of you have been wondering, why have I stopped doing videos? Where are some videos? I know I keep promising I'm going to do videos. There are a couple different reasons for that. The first and foremost, doing that work to get the Atomic Mass rules form ready for Armada, that sucked up a ton of time, just getting that all ready and prepped and up and standing. And now that we have that, isn't it great that anytime you're like, how does this work? I don't know. Let me go ask a question. And then like you get an immediate answer within a couple days. Isn't that cool? I know I really enjoy that. I know one of the questions I have gotten is kind of like, what's that process? How does it all work? I'll try to get into that. But essentially is that the Atomic Mass Games 4 took up a lot of time initially establishing that. And then there is that initial rush of questions, and there's other projects and things that I work on, that whether that be for Atomic Mass Games, or I also do event coordination gigs on the side, like for Frontline Gaming. I'm in talks with a couple other groups. I have other stuff that I work on too, so I just don't have the free time. Plus my main job as a carpet cleaner, summertime is my busiest time, and that's where I make money, because wintertime, obviously I don't work as much. So it's like I work as much as I can, as hard as I can, just so that in the wintertime, when I'm not working so much, I'm able to get through the winter. And the wintertime is when I have the most free time to work on like videos and ideas and other things. So mainly it's just, you just got to be patient. I will get to doing videos on the first question I'll answer here is, when am I getting to the Wave 10 Clone Wars content, the new cards and the newest expansions? So my official answer to that question is, I will get to that probably sometime in October, especially by November, I feel like. It just depends on if I get free time. My work slows down a little bit in September, but not a whole lot, because now that all the kids are going back to school, my job is still busy, because now all the parents are getting their carpets cleaned because the kids have been stuck inside, with the pandemic in my area with all the smoke. So I'm still just really busy. So it's not that I don't want to do any of this stuff. I want to. It's just I don't have free time. I have to really block out my time. I also moved in July. I moved not too far away. I moved a little bit south. Where I was living. I rented my house out, and I'm living in a room now with family members because I needed more peace and quiet. I love Bend. Bend is great. That's where, that's essentially, I live in Central Oregon, and it's a fantastic area, but Bend is getting pretty noisy at night, and it just was really waking me up and keeping me awake. So I moved further out into the woods, into a community that is quiet and peace and quiet, and I'm 2 minutes away from a river, and I can walk to it whenever I want. I go paddleboarding, I meditate. I deal a lot with like depression and anxiety, so that just really helps me be able to focus myself and be able to wake up each morning and get tasks done, and not just lay there like, oh, I can't do anything, it's impossible, So let's see here. Polo, I'm doing good. Today's been a good day. It is so smoky outside though. Man, we got like an air index of like over 400. It's awful. I really wish. I have my nieces and nephews that I'm watching, or some of them, and I really wish we could go outside and do stuff. But unfortunately we can't, because the smoke is just so bad. It's unhealthy. Eric, we'll write down the important points in chat so you won't miss anything. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. I'll designate you as my unofficial official, but not really official person to take down those important points. Show me your notes. Yeah, there will be a pop quiz afterwards. No worries, Dennis. And you can always leave comments after the video too, and I'll be sure to answer comments. And Starfish, yeah, it's nice. It's really helped me to sleep better and be better. So, but yeah, so as again, when I'm getting to more videos, especially in the Clone Wars content, I know a lot of people have questions about interactions and how cards work. and I'll get to that. It's definitely on the something I want to do. And to kind of follow up with that too, a lot of people have been asking me, when are you going to update the CARM or the Armada reference manual that I made? When are you going to update that? When are you going to make put all your stuff and things in there? And the answer to that is still something that is under potential negotiation with Atomic Mass Games on if they're wanting to do anything. So I'm not going to touch that until I know more about what's going to go on with that. Because like I said in some prior videos, there's definitely were talks of they may want to try to incorporate some of that information, and they don't want me to work on it until we kind of get that more figured out. Obviously, Atomic Mass Games has been very busy in terms of leading up to the MiniStravaganza, which they've just been really swamped. So that's still something that they want to talk about. It just, like with all things, it just takes a lot of time. And Atomic Mass Games doesn't have a ton of people that are official employees that work for them in terms of the people I need to talk to get things resolved. They're just very busy, and they have a small staff. You know, whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, I'll leave that up to debate for people who want to debate that. I can't really comment on that other than just things take time. And what is the MiniStravaganza? That is, let me bring that up here. So, as probably a lot of you know, being Armada players, the MiniStravaganza is something Atomic Mass Games puts on. It seems like they're trying to do at least every 6 months or so. And it's mainly just kind of their way to interact with the community, to show them, you know, products they're working on, have panels, discussions, things like that. You can interact with them and kind of get some look into the future of product. Based on what Atomic Mass Games is, they are largely they really like showing off painting and cool things you can do with that. They do streams of that all the time on their YouTube channel. So the event schedule for their Thursday, Friday, and Saturday it's lots of painting and painting, you know, tips, tricks, things of that nature. Unfortunately, with this MiniStravaganza, they only have one X-Wing panel, which that will be on Thursday, September 9th. But they are planning to cover, you know, current product, the future of X-Wing, and then there's lots of Marvel Crisis Protocol. There's a lot of Legion, because Legion, there's a ton there. I won't touch too much on Legion just because, or X-Wings, because those aren't games I really play. Do I help out with that in some capacity in my job as a moderator? A little bit here and there, nothing that you would notice. But lots of Legion, lots of X-Wing, and of course, you know, it's we're gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. It's so disappointing that there absolutely is no Armada anywhere on that schedule. Like, just broke my heart to see that. So a lot of people think that, like, oh, you knew this was coming, and no, I didn't. I had no idea that there was going to be absolutely no Armada on the schedule at all. So for me, if you're on the Discords, you will hear that I appropriately voice my disappointment. By no means am I attacking Atomic Mass Games or, you know, upset or angry or mad. But I can be disappointed. I'm capable of expressing disappointment that this is not something that we have. I really wish that they had the something to be able to talk about, whether that just be talking about current product or just showing current product. Because those new models, those Armada models, those Clone War models are gorgeous. They're beautiful. So I'm just kind of wondering why there wasn't like a painting segment to show off some of these ships, or maybe to have a game, even if it was just a short game, just showing some of that content. So I'm disappointed that there's none of that. But again, I'm not in charge. I don't understand the process of why that decision was made. Was there a good reason for it? Probably something that I'm not aware of, or don't need to be aware of. I'm just a contractor, not an employee. So just to kind of get that all up front and out there, I'm just as disappointed as everyone else about that. So it's my hope that Atomic Mass Games will, you know, look and take that feedback that I've given them and that the community has given them for the future, that even if all you give us is 15 minutes, we appreciate the fact that at least you gave us 15 minutes and just not anything. because I know the community was really, really heartbroken to not just see anything related to they only have 4 product lines, and to not see one product line completely in a 3-day event is just, like I said, it's really disappointing. So I think I've expressed that disappointment enough for this segment. But if you still are capable of going to the MiniStravaganza, even though I know there's no Armada on there, at least go to interact with the developers, with the painters, you at least go and see some of the things. If it sounds interesting, at least go and attend and try to hang out and interact with Atomic Mass Games. By no means, please attack them or demand anything. It's okay to ask questions. I know Krabak is planning to try to jump on at certain points and try to get some interaction and some additional information. And that's fine. You can always ask questions. Just please don't attack Atomic Mass Games and be like, how dare you not do anything like this? Because they don't have to. Technically, like with any company, they don't technically have to do anything. And one point I do want to give Atomic Mass Games for kudos, and a lot of people won't agree with me on this. I appreciate the fact that a few weeks ago they put up an announcement that said, hey guys, unfortunately we don't, in short, unfortunately we don't have any product development for our Armada right now. I appreciate that honesty, because a lot of people were demanding that they say something. So they said something. So you can't really be mad at them for telling the community what they've been asking for. It's not news that anyone wanted to hear, certainly, but they didn't leave us just hanging, wondering what's going on for anything. Like, for example, if they hadn't made that announcement and we saw this event schedule pop up and there was no Armada on there, how much worse would the community reaction have been if they hadn't have done that? I definitely feel like a lot of people would be way more upset if they hadn't preferenced that. But again, disappointment is disappointment. Feel free to express that. All right. I think we're done enough on that topic. It's an Ask Me Anything, not an Ask an Atomic Mass Games anything, right? All right, let me put this back over here. And then I'll read up on chat here in a second. All right. Yeah, Grayson. Yes, the Razor Crest model looks fantastic. I think it's a very gorgeous and very beautiful model. And welcome. And then also welcome. Oh my goodness, it's in French. I don't know how to pronunciate French, so I'll just call you Interstellar. Welcome. Montana Hunter, hello from Canada. Yep, nice to see all of you. Yeah, the X-Wing stuff, I know the X-Wing panel, I know that they're going to, well, I don't know, actually. I assume that they're going to show off Razor Crest stuff, because that's what they announced. I am under the impression there's going to be lots to talk about. I mean, they got a whole panel. But do I know anything else past that? No, I don't have any secret information or anything like that. For the most part, I really only know what you guys know. Do I know some other things or behind the scene things? Of course, I can't spoil or talk about anything. But again, 99% of the time, whatever you find out or hear about or see, I probably maybe only have a little bit of foreknowledge about it before you guys see it, or in some cases I get no foreknowledge. Like the event Extravaganza schedule. I had another question somebody asked me. It's will the mini Extravaganza have events like they had with the first one with the gameplay modes and the custom this, that, and the other thing? Officially, I don't know. But I would like to believe that if they did that with their last event, they're going to do the same thing again with this event. I mean, they already announced the Crisis Protocol event for the Doctor Strange or whatever. I just would find it really hard to believe that they would only do Marvel Crisis Protocol and not have something for the rest of their games. Because the last event, they had something for all their games. My assumption is that there's going to be something for everything this time around as well. And I hope that we're not disappointed in that. But I'd like to believe that, if they were able to do simple stuff like that last time, they can continue to do stuff like that this time. Okay. Adrian. Okay, I'll call you Adrian. Montana asks me, what are your thoughts on whether an in-person Worlds will be hosted? Additionally, well-known new content is being worked on. Do you have any info on tournament kits, prize support? No idea. So... Again, I don't speak for Atomic Mass Games. I don't represent them. I don't speak for Asmodee. I don't represent Asmodee. But based on my understanding and knowledge, there still hasn't been anyone hired for organized play within Atomic Mass Games or within Asmodee. So it seems really difficult to be able to have someone be able to do organized play if there theoretically isn't a person hired for it. Now, the caveat to that is, even if they didn't specifically hire someone for organized play, it technically falls under marketing. So they could be having somebody from Atomic Mass Games marketing or Asmodee marketing theoretically picking that up and working on that. Because it is a marketing, it's under marketing. Like, for example, my contract is under marketing. I'm technically under the purview of the marketing director. So is that something that could be being worked on? Absolutely. I don't have any information about if there's going to be anything like that. Based on my conversations with others, do they want all these things? Absolutely. They absolutely want these things. They want to see these things again. It's just that it's not up to Atomic Mass Games to decide when or if that happens, or in some portion or part maybe. But it's really the parent corporation, Asmodee, that dictates when those kinds of activities can happen, if they can endorse anything. I know that I have been trying to, as part of my event coordination side gigs, to see if Atomic Mass Games is willing to make some kinds of kits or something like that. And the information that essentially I've gotten has been the same thing everyone else has gotten, is we're looking into it, we'll get back to you. So I don't have any special privileges or anything like anyone else. I have to wait in line like everyone else for stuff and things. I'd like to think that if they are able to accomplish it, that they will. But again, the small staff, with all of the pandemic, everything still raging on, I can't see them theoretically supporting a tournament during a pandemic where they say, yes, here's our stamp of approval, go to this indoor gathering where you might get sick or potentially may or may not get sick. And how can they encourage something like that potentially players might suffer some consequences for? They don't want the liability for that. So I see both sides. It's just, I wish that they would say or not say or do something, but that's just how it is. It's just all the business stuff. So they'll keep I feel like they'll keep trying to hold off on any official decision until they know for certain when the pandemic is going to come to a close. So will we see a Worlds in 2022? I mean, you have to have a lead up into that, and we're already at the end of 2021, so I just don't see how we can have a lead up to a Worlds event if there isn't even any planning or anything for it. Not to say they can't do it. I just don't see how logistically that can be accomplished with this time frame right now. So I think that actually answers one of the questions I got, which was last year you said there would be Armada Worlds. Is this still the case? Which I don't think I said that. I think what they're referring to is Atomic Mass Games said that there would be an Armada Worlds. And based on what I recall from their announcement, they said that they want to look into that and they want to do that. I don't think that they absolutely committed to that time frame because, again, there's still a pandemic going on. So so that answers, I think, that portion there. So hopefully that answers your question, Montana. I know I would love to see them make some form of, even if it's just alt arts. I'm sure they got tons of alt arts in a warehouse they could throw into something and send out, but I don't know about any of that. Lord Cola says, do you think, in your opinion, they stopped Armada development for now because they currently don't have development resources or because Armada is not profitable enough? I largely think it's just their staff is so small that they have to prioritize. And Armada just did have big releases this year, so all the Clone Wars stuff came out this year. So, I mean, technically Armada got 4, 6, 7, 8. I mean, if you count each individual expansion, the core sets, the fighter packs, and the 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so technically Armada got 8 releases this year. Technically, 8 releases this year. That's a ton of Armada in 1 year. It's all that Clone Wars content. So technically, when was the last time Armada, after release, when was the longest time that we got till our next product? Well, if anyone remembers back to the drought, that was the SSD, waiting for that. I mean, we waited like 1.5 years for our next piece of content. So, they have to prioritize. Their staff is only so big. Now, whether that be a discussion whether, more people should be hired or not hired or prioritized or not prioritized, obviously that's not up to me. I can't make any suggestions on that. That's their own, they have to make their own decisions. I don't blame them for prioritizing X-Wing and Legion because those are their most profitable games, hands down by far. Armada, even though it sells out all the time, everywhere, you never can buy any Armada. They can't reprint Armada fast enough, which shows that people are hungry for it and they want it. But from my understanding is that Armada that never was really bringing in as much revenue as they would prefer. And as we see now that they just released that price increase across the board, that price increase is not really so much to make the content more profitable. It's just to keep up with inflation and the cost of doing business. I know a lot of people are upset that they think that they're raising Armada prices because they just want more money, and that's not the case. You look at across the entire marketing for any board games, card game, everything. It's all going up, and it's just shipping. Shipping has gotten ridiculous. So for my job, my workplace that I work at, my real job here, our shipping costs are freaking outrageous, and so we have to plan like 8 months in advance for what we need. So if we see something that we need to put that order in now because we won't get until 8 months later or like 6 months later. It's just so backed up, and there's just not enough ability to be able to transport. So like we back ordered stuff that we finally got for my job that we ordered like 6 months ago, and we ordered a ton of it because we knew that it's just only going to get worse before it's going to get better. So I actually think we're getting ready to put in another demand or another ask for supply that we know we won't get until 8 months from now. So hopefully our resources and everything holds out until then for my work. I hope that answers your question, Wordcola. I definitely feel like they have to prioritize their development, and yes, because for Armada, I don't think it's so much profit as it is just, they just don't have the resources to really work on it right now. Is the Vandor event is past? Vandor. I don't know what a Vandor event is past, Adrian. So unfortunately, I'm not sure if I can answer that question. Muzzy, hello from Mexico. Yeah, pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining in. Did the Armada community see a significant increase in the USA with the new factions? Yeah, I've been hearing and seeing everywhere how popular Clone Wars is. I mean, a lot of communities have exploded with the popularity of Clone Wars. I've seen it myself in the local area that I go to. I've seen that across the areas all throughout the United States. So I know I'm part of a lot of Facebook groups and Discords, and I definitely would say that there's a huge influx of new players to Armada because of the Clone Wars content, yes. Montana, got my fingers crossed. At least we'll see some competitive support to encourage continued play. I absolutely agree with you, Montana. I would like to believe that they are trying to work on something and put something out. And I don't think that's just not only for Armada. I think it's for all of their games. So it's lots of planning, and it takes a lot of time and effort. I mean, my end is when I do my event coordination side gig stuff, I mean, it's a ton of behind the scenes planning. Even though it's just like we're showing up for a 3-round event, it doesn't seem like it takes that much planning, but you would be surprised how much time and effort goes into getting all that ready and out. Yeah, Dennis, Armada, yeah, I think we touched on that, but yeah, I agree with you. It's absolutely growing. People want organized play kits because official stuff will always have more draw than just like, oh, here's a prize thing that I made up myself. Gomez, what time did this start? This started about 30 minutes ago. Vader event. I still don't understand what the Vader event is. Unfortunately, I'm not certain. Are you talking about like Legion, or is it an X-Wing thing? As far as I know, there's no Armada events for. I don't know what the Vader event is. I'm sorry. I remember they're talking about a special event like Doctor Strange, but with Vader. Was it a Legion only event? Yeah, that sounds like that would be something Legion involved. So I don't have any information on that. I don't really follow X-Wing or Legion, so I apologize for that. Let's get into one of the other questions I have here. Somebody asks will they use the same format for competitive tournaments as Fantasy Flight Games? I'm assuming they mean like the structure format like they had at Worlds or at other large events like Gen Con, etc. I really don't see that changing. The format already works really well as is, depending on what's being done. I personally don't like what's it called? Shoot, my mind just went blank. Essentially, like they take the top two and they have a one game to determine first place, like or knockout or anything like that. I don't like game types like that. I don't feel like that accurately represents the structure of Armada and how Armada should be played. That's my personal preference and opinion. I don't have any involvement on anything like that. So I would like to see the same formats, but of course, try to learn some lessons from what the community has said that they like or didn't like. I would love to see more formats that aren't competitive. I would love to see more game styles like Take the Station, but different game types and things like that. I know one thing that I've been trying to push out is a game mode that I've worked on. It's called Nerf Herder. Nerf Herder is essentially essentially football tug of war. You're trying to push a piece into your opponent's end zone or deployment zone. A lot of people have been looking at that and have been finding that is a really enjoyable format. I played that at the Lone Star Open, and the players who played there we loved it. We had so much fun playing this Nerf Herder format. It was a ton of fun. I'm trying to get that expanded out more to other areas. If you want to know more about that, I will make sure I'm posting a comment with the rule setup for that. But if you go to the let me see if I can find it here. I'll post it in chat, and you can read the I'll dig up one of my old event packets here. So I think Nerf Herder, I can definitely see like something like that would be awesome. I think a lot of people would really enjoy it. Oh, that's not the right folder. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna grab that, get link, copy link, and we put this in here. So this is from the Lone Star Open. So the one thing I love about Nerf Herder, it is meant to just be custom, quick, fast, fun games. The format is 200 points. It's meant for just small amount of ships, small amount of squadrons, and you would think that with something like this that it wouldn't be very strategic or very fun, but man, like we got so into playing it. There's all these strategies about trying to push the middle piece that I called the nerf, and you're all nerf herders trying to hurt the nerf. Anyway, jokes. All the strategies about how you're trying to push this piece and how you're going to accomplish that, and counterplay and play. It was a lot of fun, and I just really see this being a really great way of getting people to come in and not have to play like the full at least 2 hours per game round for one game. We were getting through these games in like half hour, 45 minutes sometimes. So you just can get more quick, fast games in. And yeah, I would like to see this spread out more, or just more custom formats. Just things that are different, that just aren't only for competitive players, but I know a lot of people who are casual and they don't want to play a 2 hour 400-point game every single time. They just want short, fast games that are fun. They go in, throw some dice, things explode, and then they can just go home. So I definitely agree that stuff like that would be a lot of fun, not just always the pure competitive format. I know for the events that I've been hosting as an event organizer, you probably will have seen this quite often as the custom format of there's the main serious tournament, and then there's a fun casual tournament for players who are new that don't think that they're ready for the serious one, which my advice to you is play as much Armada you can play, whether it be the serious or casual. You're going to have a good time no matter what, and you're going to learn a lot. And then I'm also trying to push these fun little side events, just these simple fun things that are not standard Armada. And I've really been trying to push for stuff like that for not only the events that I'm a part of, but for all event coordinators to try to have just these fun little things going on. Let's see, Montana asks, has there been a lot of concern recently about strong ship cards in dominated the competitive scene, like Onigers or Lando, Starhawks, etc. I know there's a lot of concern, especially with Onigers. I know I have concerns about Onigers and Starhawks, and it's just there's no official data to back anything up. I definitely have concerns about fleet archetypes and things like that, but the thing is, game balance is so hard to determine until you actually get data, and until we actually get data from official events. I doubt that there will be any game balance changes around anything for quite some time. So I know like triple Onager is not fun to play against, or even double Onager or Onagers in general. But there definitely are play styles and tips and tactics to beating Onagers. Like for example, at the Lone Star Open, there was a guy flying double Venators, and he had spats on them, and he was able to mop the floor with like the Onager fleets he came up against, just because he, I know a lot of people complain about thermal shielding, the thermal shields, but he was able to take thermal shields, reduce that damage output from the Onager, and nuke it way down, and then they were just able to tank it because of the support ships. And then once they finally got in range of spats, they're chucking just as much damage back at Onagers, and Onagers do not like being shot at. They are like Liberties. They want to do the shooting. They do not want to get shot at. They really don't like that. So they definitely have some concerns about, like with all things, is Armada perfectly balanced? It isn't. Is it really balanced in that? Are there tactics and things that ultimately things are pretty relatively even? Absolutely. I think Armada is one of the most balanced games in that aspect. But there's always going to be, nitpicks and things that could change. And then you change them, and then it changes other things. And then there's always other things that, there's no such thing as perfect balance. But I do agree that certain things could be adjusted by this point. Muzzy asked me, will I be participating with Frontline Gaming on more Armada events next year? So I am. I've done some help with the San Diego, the SoCal Open. I am still uncertain if I will actually be traveling to that event or not, but I'm the one who helped Boba Fett get roped into it to run that event. And I've been helping him on the back end with all that. I helped him make all the player packets and know what he needs to get and what to do. And he's got my phone number if there's something at the event that he for ruling he needs help with. He can give me a call, and I can help him out with that. So I've done work with Frontline Gaming in that aspect. I am helping out at the Las Vegas Open in January. I will be going to that event. I'll be event coordinator for that event. Ian Cross is technically the lead event coordinator on that, which if you don't know who Ian Cross is, he was the Armada World's judge for years and years. Super awesome guy. Totally love being around Ian. He's so nice. He did work for Fantasy Flight Games and Asmodee for quite some time before he was let go. But he's super awesome person, and I'll be working with him at the Las Vegas Open event, which I'll post up links and stuff for that too, because I should be promoting those events, right? Las Vegas is an interesting experience. My first time going was last year to a Las Vegas Open event, or not last year, in 2019, or was it 2020? It was 2020, the start of 2020, because it's January. So that was interesting to go to Las Vegas for the first time. But it's a great venue, it's a great event, and I mean, it's Vegas, so there's always just other stuff to do that's not, convention miniature related. Will I be participating in more events past LVO? I don't know. I haven't been approached on anything. I haven't really asked, just because right now I'm just so busy. I don't need to add more planning stuff on my plate. Am I in the works of other events with other types of things going on that's not Frontline Gaming related? I'll say yes, and I won't go into further detail on it because I am not supposed to talk more about it until we get more information about stuff. It's not AMG related, I'll say that much. It's for some other events, big names, big events, stuff that you would recognize. But that's not official. It's still stuff that's in talks and negotiations. Do you share concerns about meta dominating fleets, or their impact being mitigated with more fleet counter player practice? I mean, I would say right now there is no meta dominating fleet, because as much as double Onager is awful to play against, it can be beaten with, as you said, you design a fleet counter or get enough player practice to be able to beat them. The reason why Onagers are so successful is, especially for new players who have never played against it, they're going to get wrecked. You're going to get absolutely wrecked. It's going to be such a negative experience because it's such a game-changing way that all of a sudden you're being shot from across the table and there's nothing you can do about it if you're not prepared for it. There are absolutely objectives you can take to mitigate that. There are plans. Some players just try to tank through it, and it's possible to tank through it, with the right kinds of setups. And like everything, it's a circle. So there's going to be fleets specifically designed to counter Onagers and beat up on Onagers, and then there's going to be, they're going to be weak to other fleet archetypes that are designed as more generalists. They're not focused on defeating a specific archetype. Heck, I saw a game at Lone Star Open. If anyone watched any of that, everyone was, their minds were blown as an SSD sat on top table the entire time, just knocking everything in its path and out of its way, including Onagers. If you had told me that the SSD against an Onager, I would have been like, yeah, Onager is going to win because it's going to just sit in a corner and super laser the whole time. And the SSD is just going to die. And the player who played that SSD, by the way, had been practicing with SSDs for like a year. That's like specifically what he always played. So he knew exactly where to deploy, what nav movements. He had everything down to a calculated T to know exactly where he would be to just be able to get at those Onagers and then just wipe the floor with them. So there is play. It comes down to practice, practice, practice. When somebody says this is broken, it's not balanced, largely just comes down to the fact that you're just not prepared to face whatever you're facing. I do agree that like the red beam on Onagers is absolutely a negative play experience, and that card needs to be adjusted. But is there counterplays and things to get around that? Absolutely. I don't think it's so game breaking that the game is unplayable. It's just like with all things, you just kind of have to have plans for what's going to happen, what's going to go on. And again, that's just practice and experience, which is why I always encourage people to just go to official, like the competitive tournaments, that even if you don't think that you're capable of winning a game, go for the experience, because those players are not just going to sit there and beat you and just walk away. They're going to explain to you like, yeah, this is why you lost, because you deployed like this, or at this moment in the game you made this decision which I was able to capitalize on and punish you for that. They typically won't explain that to you in the middle of a game, but definitely afterwards. Most players are usually very open to explaining to you, yeah, this is how you lost. Lord Cole asked me again, do you think that there will be at AMG continued development of Armada in the future once they have additional development resources? What do you think the chances of that are? Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely agree that they want to continue developing Armada. It is, for what it is, it's profitable. You looked at the stats from years ago, it was like the top third selling game in North America, which that's just crazy. So, there's a market for it. It's Star Wars. I definitely feel like they want to get development and resources into it, but again, right now, they just have to prioritize. So I do think that there will be more content. And I know that they are wanting to do more with Armada that's not new content related. Again, I'm not speaking for Atomic Mass Games. I'm not saying they are or aren't going to do anything. I just know based on conversations that I've had, it would be like, yeah, these are some cool ideas. We'll look into see if we can actually accomplish or do them or not. So, that's with any company. Any developer would be like, yeah, we're always looking at new options. Like, that's a standard response. I just know from what I'm involved in, I've pitched out a few ideas, internally, but like, oh, these would kind of be cool things, and pretty much the responses I always get from stuff like that is like, yeah, that's a great idea. We'll look into it. So, it's not that they don't want to do stuff, but again, it still comes down to staff development and how much time and resources they can actually put into stuff like that. But I do know they are looking at Armada and they're trying to find ways to do stuff with Armada with what they already have. And I can't comment more past that, other than just they've heard the community and they've heard the things that they say. Well, why don't you do this, or this? And like, okay, we've gotten all that feedback. We're looking at those options. They just can't commit to anything about what will or will not happen. And I can't comment anymore about if stuff will or not happen because I don't want to get in trouble. You totally agree from business sense they're going to prioritize X-Wing and Legion. Yeah, it's their top 2 selling games. They make more money from that stuff than anything else. Anders, I'm not certain what you mean by any events in the Bay Area. If you mean like your local events, I would reach out to your local community and find out. As in terms of like official events, there's no official Atomic Mass Games events. I know for Frontline Gaming, they're doing the SoCal Open, which that's going to be at the San Diego Fairgrounds. I think that's about like the biggest, closest event to you might see. Hello, Garrett. Nice to see you. Leo asked me, how can I defeat XI7 turbo lasers? You mean you like with all things for upgrade cards, you need to have a plan. You need to have a way to move shields. So for me personally, when I see that my opponent has XI7 turbo lasers, I try to get repair tokens on my ships in some form of capacity, whether it be like with CommsNet or maybe on the first turn, I'll take a repair token. Because even with a repair token, moving shields only costs 1 point. So how you defeat XI7s is that if they're focusing on a hull zone, all you have to do is just keep moving shields to that zone. So if you're able to move shields there, whether from a ship of projection experts or again, you're spending those repair tokens and you're just moving shields to that zone, it helps negate some of the power of XI7s. Yeah, there's lots of options to dealing with Onigers or double Onigers. I mean, again, it's at this point, we've gotten to the point where it's not fun to play against Onigers, but people have learned the play styles that can beat them. Again, the biggest reason why Onigers see a lot of success is that new players just don't know how to play against them. And so, they're baby seal. You're not just clubbing them, you're clubbing them so hard that in some cases you're actually driving these players away, which is unfortunate, which is why I try to tell people, if you're showing up for a casual game night and it's with brand new players and you're bringing an Onager, you're a butthole. Don't be a butthole. Don't bring stuff that's going to make the experience so unenjoyable for a new player that they're going to be like, why did, I showed up for a game and I didn't even get to roll any dice because all my stuff exploded, because they're just so new, they don't understand deployment strategy and game strategy and how to do any of this stuff. At some point, should you introduce them to Onigers so they can learn how to play it? Absolutely. And that's training. So if you have a new player who shows up, don't immediately pull out the Onager and slap that puppy down and just blow them away and they're not prepared for it. Leave them up to that. Play a game with a normal fleet. Get them hooked into Armada with the basic elements of strategy and planning and how things interact. And then, as a veteran player, be like, hey, if you're wanting to continue to play Armada, especially if you want to go to tournaments, you need to be ready to how to deal with Onigers. And I'm going to introduce the Onager to you so you can experience how that plays, and then you can be ready for it. So again, if you show up to casual game nights with an Onager, you can do that. But I just feel like that's just you can do better. You can do better to introduce, especially with new players, introducing the game to them and getting them hooked into it before just utterly obliterating them with a super laser from across the table that they have no idea how to stop. Okay. What's my favorite ship upgrade card on Armada based on fun to use, not strength of the card itself? My favoriteest thing in the world was when I made a SSD with Officer Palpatine and Overload Pulse. I remember the first time I ran that at a tournament, and I made sure I had enough points to bid and get first player. And what I would do with the SSD is I would shoot 3 shots out at 3 different ships and made sure I had blue dice. I had weapons battery techs instead of gunnery teams. And then I tried to make sure that I was always getting that blue critical for Overload Pulse to go off. And then I would exhaust, all their defense tokens would be exhausted. and then their ships would activate, and it would be their turn to attack, and they'd be like, okay, I'm going to attack your SSD. I'm like, okay, discard a token. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, Officer Palpatine, you got to discard a token. You're attacking me. And I had a guy attack me, only he had all the ships set up with a double arc on my SSD, and then he decided to only attack once with each ship instead of utilizing the double arcs on each ship. And so that was just, I was cackling like the Emperor as like, everything is proceeding as I have foreseen. And he's like, shut up. So that's probably the funnest combo that I've had was just watching him having to throw away his defense tokens when he tried to attack me. And you actually can replicate that on an ISD. I know a lot of people have been very, very happy with an ISD2 with Officer Palpatine now, especially if you put like local fire control on it, so you also can then also salvo back. I mean, Officer Palpatine is pretty much like anti-salvo. Like, if you want to shoot me with salvo, okay, you know, spend a defense token or discard a defense token. So Palpatine is a great combination in that aspect, the Officer Palpatine. And that's the only time I've ever seen Overlord Pulse, which is considered one of the worst upgrade cards in the game, actually be useful. Eric says, does AMG, Asmodee, and other people acknowledge the many TTS events that are being run since lockdowns, or they think concerns about privacy? Yeah, so Asmodee officially, and AMG and FFG, all their official stance is they absolutely do not support Tabletop Simulator or Vassal. And my official stance is, because I work for AMG, is that I can't support online play like that. Do they know people are doing it? Absolutely, they know people are doing it. Can they support or acknowledge that in any capacity whatsoever? Absolutely not. And there will come a day that there will be a reckoning where they will put out cease and desists for that at some point, I'm certain. Whether that be now or 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't know. I just know that if you want to protect your intellectual property, you have to lock down or push out, you know, stuff that is potentially taken away from them. They technically own it, and the TTS and Vassal, while fan projects that, you know, essentially don't hurt anybody, that's still someone who is not owning that property doing something with that property, and they can't let that, you know, they can't recognize that those people have control over their intellectual property. And actually, somebody asked me that question is, why hasn't AMG hired Green Knight yet? He's doing a very good job, especially while adjusting points. With Vassal play testing would be perfect before releasing stuff. Again, they can't. Legally, they can't. Because to even do anything recognizing anyone else's work that wasn't officially conducted by them, they would lose their licensing and their intellectual property, and they wouldn't have it anymore. Disney lawyers would come in and quickly just nuke everything and everybody. So again, they can't do anything like that. They can't recognize it, they can't support it, they can't acknowledge it, they can't do anything in that capacity or anything whatsoever. And yeah, they just pretty much tell you don't be involved with it. You know, that's why I don't have videos or anything that shows like for when I was hired on, I mentioned that I had Vassal videos. And like, we understand that you have content that you produced before. That's fine. You can leave that up. Don't make anything else promoting that program. End of story, period. That's why you don't see me doing anything with any of those programs. And actually, as the forum moderator, I've gotten questions from people like, how does Vassal this, that, and this other thing? I'm like, I can't support, you know, answering anything in regards to platforms we don't support. I have to delete those topics. So that's their official stance on stuff like that, just so you're aware. Let me just check the Facebook, make sure I'm not missing anything on here. And then I'm going to check my Discords real quick. I hope you guys have been enjoying this so far. I've been having fun talking about this, and yeah, I'm just trying to promote some form of Armada content leading up to the MiniStravaganza. As I mentioned before when I started the stream, I just really do wish that AMG had promoted Armada in some form or capacity. I could express disappointment that they didn't do that. I can't express too much else. All right. More questions here. What game will I be pivoting to when Armada dies? Oh, I don't think Armada will ever die. If it ever comes to the point where the game is not supported, I probably will still even work on other things, Armada related. If I had to pivot to something else, I don't know. I've looked at Drop Fleet Zone and Drop Fleet Commander, and those games definitely look cool. It definitely look more to the scale that I really wanted from Armada. But I haven't really dived too much else into it other than what Blissfully Ignorant Gaming has done with their articles or their live streams. It looks cool, it looks neat. The rules look like they make sense and they're easy to get into. As for another like competitive miniatures game, I don't know. I'd like to think that Armada is going to be around for quite some time. Somebody asked me, are you still working with Atomic Mass Games? If so, has your role changed? As I mentioned before, I'm not an employee of Atomic Mass Games. I am contracted by them to do work for them as a rules moderator. That role hasn't changed at all. I am still a forum moderator for them. Oh, right. Somebody had mentioned I was going to explain the process behind the rules forum, like when somebody puts up a question and like how does that all work. Now, obviously, some of this stuff is I can't really explain in full detail, and that actually goes along with I just see here another question, which is I've got a pretty simple question. What's it like working for Atomic Mass Games? So I'm going to kind of hit both of these in one go. What's it been like working for them? Awesome. It's been really great. When I was working on standing up the rules forum, got a lot of attention and a lot of feedback from the developers. I expressed a lot of frustrations with how all this stuff from Armada that's been plaguing the system for years, and then finally bringing that forward and them being like, yeah, that's an issue. Let's work on that. Let's find a way to take care of this if this has been a problem. And it was just really great to just get listened to and just be able to present, like, here's some issues. How do you want to take care of it? A lot of people misunderstand and think that I have absolute control and power over everything Armada related. That's absolutely not the case. If I see something and I think that it's a problem, I can definitely bring it to a developer's attention for them to look at. But I don't make decisions for Atomic Mass Games. I answer rules questions for them. I generally don't need a whole lot of oversight for that. But if I come across something that I cannot explain using the rule book, or if there's any ambiguity or anything like that, I take that question and I bring it to their attention. So to go through the whole process, when standing up the rules forum, I presented pages of stuff like these are interactions that need official answers to, or in general, it'd be a good idea just to officially say like, no, this is absolutely how this interpretation is. The developer I worked with, we went through all that, we answered all that. That's where you see like the initial like errata and the rules things. Now that the rules forum is active and ongoing, somebody will make a post. They'll submit a question. It comes up on my thing. It's never approved instantly. Nobody else ever sees it. I'm the person who approves and not approves posts. So it comes up. I read the question. And by and large, most questions are pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And you'll see on there, I'll say something like, yes, it's ruled this way. So if it's something that I absolutely know the answer to, I immediately just answer the question and lock it and put the tags on there so other people can find it and throw it up right up there. I don't need approval for that. If it's a question like what we had with, what was an example? Some people have asked me some Moth Jerjerrod questions, and they asked those quite some time ago. They are still waiting for answers to those questions because I had to get a developer involved. And there's been a lot of conversation about how to address these questions with Moth Jerjerrod. And it's not that you've been forgotten. It's just like with all things, it just takes time. It takes a lot of discussion. and there's still an approval process that developer still has to go through if we're going to, for stuff like that. So again, if it's a simple, boom boom, simple question answer, I can just immediately take care of it. If it's something that I'm not certain about, I bring it to developers' attention. If it's something that's an easy answer for them, we immediately take that right back. We post it, approve it. Generally, we will ask, like, does this answer your question? Do you have any other questions regarding about how this was answered? And in almost all cases, people respond back like, yeah, this absolutely answered my question. Thank you so much. And then we just kind of clean things up, and we post that as you see it on the rules forum. But if it's more in-depth or complicated than that, then yes, I take that internally. We have an internal forum that I put stuff on. The developer will come by, take a look at it, and be like, oh, okay, I can see where my input is needed. I'll get to this. I have it slotted for X day, X time, etc. And then they almost always end up asking me questions such as, like, we see that there's an issue here, but why is that the issue? Why is this interaction this way? Like, why was this card this way? And why is this card this way? And why is this interaction this way? So the biggest role of my job is, because I know so much about the history of Armada and, again, about rules and such, I will go through and I will explain, like, how everything works out. And then the developer is like, oh, once you've explained it that way, like, that makes so much more sense. And now we understand, and now we can actually talk and get moving forward on making a decision. And again, I don't make any decisions. Sometimes they'll ask me for suggestions. Always happy to give suggestions, in my opinion, when they ask me for it. But other than that, I don't make anything final. That's all up to them. So, and then once they have come to a conclusion, they inform me about how to then approach answering that question. I'm the one that goes back, unless they feel like they need to directly involved in that interaction, I'll go back and give that answer. And so that is essentially some of the behind the scenes work of what's going on. But if you ever get answers or questions, and one thing I do want to point out is that if you read something, even if it's been answered, and you go like, you know what, I'm still not 100% certain if that is correct, because I'm still only human. I may think that I have all the answers and know everything. That doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. So I always encourage people that even if it seems like something's been answered, if you're still not certain about it, you can always post a question saying, hey, I saw that the ruling for this interaction was this. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that this interaction is like this, and can I just get some further clarification on it? I get a lot of questions that you don't even see or posted up, because by and large, like 50% of what I get is mainly people just asking me, is this how this actually works? And I pretty much say, yeah, this is how that actually works. And what I try to avoid, or what we can't really go into, is I've had some people ask me, well, why was it ruled that way? What's the reasoning behind this ruling? Now, we can't go into details like that, because that's internal discussion, and I'm not allowed or authorized to talk about internal discussion about why something was ruled the way that it was. I can't give an explanation of why something is, because again, the rules forum is for rules questions, not for rules explanations. Sometimes we'll touch on that a little bit if we feel it's necessary, but by and large, if you see something, say something, and if it's something that I think needs to be looked into, I definitely will make sure that I'm pulling it up higher. But by and large, the response you're going to get for something like that might just be like, oh, it's this way because of this. But since this isn't a rules question, I have to delete the topic. So that's a very strict, stringent guideline I have to follow, is if it's not a rules question, I can't post it. And there definitely been some very clever ways that people have tried to phrase something that's not a rules question. They're just trying to dig at me for information about something else. I see right through you. Like, you're not gonna get around me in that aspect. So I think that answers some of that questions there. But yeah, it's been fun working for Atomic Mass Games in this aspect, and seeing some of the behind the scenes work that goes into it. I know a lot of people are very frustrated that they feel like the developers aren't doing enough, and I just want to let all of you know the developers work their asses off. They are consistently working on something all the time. I can't say specifically what that is or how that is or where the time allotment is dedicated to when, where, how, etc. But I can assure you that Armada doesn't get like zero attention. They still come in and do things. And I'm still doing things. There are things that, that aren't just real question things. So they're not just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, completely ignoring Armada or any game system. Just like of everything, they have to dedicate time and resources to what they have been dictated that they need to take care of. But they always have some time available for Armada to come in and do stuff. I just can't talk about what that stuff is. And that's not like, as I mentioned in their announcement, there's no new product being developed currently. But again, that doesn't mean that there isn't stuff going on. I can't comment more about what that stuff is. And it's not anything like super crazy or whatever you're thinking about. What it's like, oh, they're talking about all this cool, this, that, and it's not what you think. It definitely is like, it's mainly just questions, and they are really trying to get a grasp on Armada. And so there's lots of stuff that we work on that just helps them understand Armada more. Because of the game systems, my personal opinion, this is not official opinion, personal opinion is, of all the games that they have, I feel like Armada is the one they struggle with the most. So it just takes more time to ensure that they're understanding the history of Armada. And that involves lots of questions and lots of talking and lots of interaction in that aspect. All right, I think that's about all I really can say. I may even stepped over the line a little bit with that. But, trying to involve the community so you guys can see that there's a lot of work that goes into it that none of you all can see. So I'm trying to let you all know that stuff does happen. With regards to electronic products, Hobo was asking me this. Hobo from Zozo. Has AMG looked at providing PDF, Rebellion in the Rim maps, task force sheets, etc.? That's a good question, actually, and I'm gonna write that down on my notepad. I will find out. I'm not sure if I can officially say anything back to you about that. I would like to believe that they are wanting to move all that kind of stuff that's on Fantasy Flight Games website to their own website. They are working on a website. I don't have a timetable of when that website's going to be done. I don't know what that even looks like. I just know that they're working on something. But that's a good point. I'll bring it up. I'll have it in my list of notes here about if they will provide something like that. Based on my experience, because that is technically a game component, I highly doubt that they will release official PDFs of maps. But task force sheets is a good idea. That would be neat to have something like that. I can agree with you. I just don't see them releasing their maps as something as people can grab. But I'll look into it. And that's probably for Curling in the Rim. There's Rebellion in the Rim and there's Curling Conflict. There we go. I was mixing the two up. I'll make sure I'm making a note on here about maps and sheets. PDFs. Perfect. And oh, thank you. I appreciate your comment there, Hobo, for that you like the channel. I try to do my best. I know I haven't been as active as I would prefer. I'm trying. As I mentioned at the start, I just work a lot, and there's a lot going on. How are we supposed to show there is interest in Armada if there's nowhere to buy it? 70% of the content is unavailable throughout the EU. Yeah, man, I hear you about that. And unfortunately, that's an Asmodee issue. That's not an Atomic Mass Games issue. So I know a lot of people like to lay blame to Atomic Mass Games as if they control all of that, but they literally have no decision on what gets reprinted, how it gets reprinted, or where those reprints get shipped to. Atomic Mass Games has no control over that. That's all Asmodee. So if you have complaints about it, it unfortunately needs to be directed towards Asmodee. But I agree with you. It is really frustrating that people outside of North America can't get Armada product. I mean, heck, even people in North America can barely even get Armada product. And yeah, I think it would be great if that could be more available. But as you said, it's hard to support Armada when you can't even buy it. I agree with you on that. That it sucks. And unfortunately, nothing I can do about it. And there isn't even anyone I can even talk to to express that. I would have to send an email just like you would have to send an email to the company and express that. The best way to express that, though, go to your local game stores, talk to the game store owners, and have them express that through their official channels to the distributor to Asmodee. That's honestly the best way. Because if you complain to them in that aspect, they have to listen to somebody. They're not going to listen to some random player. Those emails that you send, I mean, I'll be honest, I doubt they even read any of them. Be perfectly honest with you. But if they have to listen to the people that are actually buying their product, which is the game stores. So if you can get the game store owners to apply pressure in that aspect, they will listen to them because that's where the profit is. They have to listen to profit. So that's my only suggestion. Do I wish there was an official forum like we used to have of FFG? No, not at all. That was a dumpster fire. There was no moderation. There were people going on there spouting racist, homophobic slurs that were out of control. I don't miss those forums at all. By and large, that forum was being replaced by Discord, Facebook, other avenues. Would it be nice if there was a one central location where people from all over the world could come and socialize and gather and talk about Armada? Absolutely. But that requires hiring people for moderation. That requires somebody actually kind of controlling some of that. Will Atomic Mass Games ever do that with their forums? There's always that possibility, I'm certain. But then again, it's all about you have to hire people to manage that. And I don't think they have the capability of doing something like that right now. So again, it all just comes back down to avenues we already have, which is Discord, Facebook, other platforms, etc. How many developers are there at AMG right now? I don't know the official number. It's at least half a dozen. So by and large, how that's split up. So the development team is a team. And they come together and they say, okay, who's gonna work on what for now, and who's gonna be here, and who's gonna take care of this, and who's doing that. And Michael Plumer is the developer that they have assigned to all three of like the Star Wars game systems. Does he do work for Marvel Crisis Protocol? I don't know, but I know that that's the person that I am directly involved with, who's essentially my boss. And are there other developers that I come in and conversate with and also have interactions with? Absolutely. So, they all technically are assigned to all of the game systems. So come in where needed, especially like the senior developers. They're the ones that kind of be like, okay, we need some extra attention here. We're going to come in here and help out with stuff right now. So they assign developers as they feel it's needed. So, as I mentioned before, it seems like X-Wing and Legion is kind of prioritized at that point. But I mean, point of contacts is that the developers come in as needed to help out with game stuff. So just because that's their prioritization right now doesn't mean that that's not going to change the next time that they have a meeting and they discuss about what stuff they need to get done. Because again, they all have a schedule for all of their game products, and they have to determine what is their best use of their time and ability. So I don't know, again, to answer the question, I don't know technically how many developers are there working on stuff. I just know that they have at least one committed to Armada, Legion, and X-Wing as a more full-time basis, because they want somebody there as a consistent interacting with all three game systems. So that's not to say that that person can't get rotated out and somebody else comes in. Again, that's all just up to them. You talked about OP before. Any hint of what is coming, what is already underway, what is relevant, what can be forgotten? Situation is confusion here. I have no idea what any of their plans are for organized play. No idea. I have no idea what their plans are. Are they wanting to do organized play? Yes, absolutely. What does that look like? I don't know. I wish I could say more than that, other than just they have heard the community. They know the community wants organized play stuff. They want to see some form of plan, not just for Armada, but for all of their games. I don't know what their what they're planning or if they have any plans for that. I think I mentioned earlier on here before is that if they were wanting to do any organized play like for Worlds tournaments for 2022, that plan would have already had to have been released by now, so games can lead up into that, and that hasn't been done. And if they were going to start now, they could, but it would be a very short season. And I just with the pandemic going on, I just don't see them officially supporting anything personally. I could be totally wrong. I don't have any back end knowledge. I'm not part of any of that kind of discussion. I definitely have voiced my opinion on that kind of stuff internally. But the response that I get is the same response that all you get is like, oh, we're looking into it. We'll get back to you. So that's the best we can ask for. Any idea if AMG will start developing new stuff in 2022? I have no idea. That's not my... I'm not a developer. I would love to believe that they are. I would like to believe that they're not going to let Armada sit for too long without starting a development process. But that's not up to me. I'm just a moderator. I know that they've asked me lots of questions on different things, but that does not give me any insight into anything. For by and large, it's mainly just questions on understanding Armada and about certain interactions. So that doesn't mean anything. As far as I'm aware, they're still learning Armada. Not to say that they don't have enough of a grasp on Armada to begin developing stuff. I just know that I've been answering a lot of questions and helping them understand things. So they've come a long way, by the way. When I first started there was a lot that they knew, but it was mainly the history. They just didn't understand why certain things were, and like me being able to help them to understand certain things, it really helped them out a lot. And they've come a long way. It's gotten to the point now where when I am dumb and I use abbreviations, they know what I mean now, when before it's like, oh right, so I use this abbreviation, but this is the reason why it's abbreviated because of this and that and the other thing. And now they're really picking up on the lingo and how Armada works. They've come a long way, especially those that I've worked with. They've put in a ton of time and work into Armada in terms of understanding not just Armada, all the systems. You know, that I definitely say with confidence, I'm really confident with where the developers are in terms of understanding Armada. We'll get to get in some more questions here. If the worst comes to pass and Armada needs to be kept afloat by the community, what is your vision in an ideal world of how that would look like? I can't comment on that because technically I'm still employed by Atomic Mass Games. I can't give a vision of what I want, because if I was to say anything in that nature or be involved, and that's why I'm not involved in any community projects, because if I was, one, I'm competing against my employer, and that's not a good look. I would definitely feel like they would not like that. Also, even if I was to like converse or conversate or see ideas and suggestions that people have, I can't take that back to be used. So, like, for example, maybe you have an idea for a ship it's completely balanced, it's perfect, it's everything we want, and it's perfectly balanced, it's super cool, and it's got all these cool upgrade cards, and they're all balanced, and they're all perfect. I would take that and be like, I can't use any of this. Because if I was to take that and suggest that and the developers liked it and they tried to use it, but then you go, well, wait a minute, I'm the one who made all this. See, here's the timeline of when I did all this, and now you're trying to steal my work. And that falls under liability. So I try to avoid not looking at anything on the Facebook or in Discords or anything when people start talking about, well, I want this, or I would like to see that, or this change to this. I immediately just close it. I go someplace else. I wait for that discussion to move on, because if I see anything that, and I, whether intentionally or unintentionally, take that idea and make that a reality, there's problems with that. Is because, again, those people can claim that we're stealing their work or their ideas. And also, Atomic Mass Games doesn't want to feel like the player base is pressuring them or pushing them to designing things that they've come up with. They want to be organic from within themselves, and just in general, they can't solicit anything from outside their own internal development. That's just a lot of legal stuff and a lot of just other things involved with that. And that's why somebody asked me why I'm not doing anything with the community, with community content. And that's the reason why I just can't. I don't want to ruin your guys' stuff. I don't want to take anything and potentially ruin our chances of getting cool stuff with Disney or with Atomic Mass Games. I don't want to ruin anything, so that's why I'm not a part of anything. Do I have ideas? Do I have things that I would love to see and do and this, that, and the other thing? Absolutely. But until that time comes where if I'm let go or if the game does cease, I have stuff that I have, sure, but I won't share any of that or express any of that just because that would be bad form. Somebody, you already asked me this again. This question here is, what form will organized play take and when will we get details? I answered that. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I knew. I definitely know I have asked. Will organized play be restricted to stores or can clubs participate? I don't think that's ever... Oh, you're talking about official kits. Official kits will only ever be stores because that's the way stores make money. That's the way they make money. It's the way they all make money. They will never sell kits to anyone not authorized to sell kits, which is game stores. Could that change? Sure. I don't see that, though. Here's a funny question from someone. How does Barris interact with superior positions? And relatedly, can we get Barris of efforts towards our game? That's a funny question. I can definitely understand the disappointment that apparently, Armada is not even getting the barest of efforts. I definitely feel like, yeah, I feel like Atomic Mass Games is wanting to do more, and they're just limited in the ability to provide that. I know I'm disappointed that there isn't more, and I do wish that. I hope that there are more things coming. That's about all I can say on that. In terms of Barris, as for the questions, what's your question about Barris and interaction with superior positions? You need to be more specific. If you're looking for an answer to that, there is something on the Atomic Mass Rules Forum that has an interaction with Barris and superior positions. I don't know specifically what you're asking with that, so unfortunately I can't touch more on that. It needs to be more specific. Take a drink of water here. Stumpy says, any chance of AMG getting to stream a game from time to time? I have no idea. I'm not in charge of that. I definitely would love to see that. I know I have... well, I really don't want to say too much more because I don't want to say anything that potentially could or couldn't come to pass. Would they like to see Armada on their YouTube channel? I know they've done painting. Do they want to do more Armada content past that? I would like to believe the answer to that is yes, but I don't know if they have plans or don't have plans or anything like that. I don't know. I know I personally would love to see more Armada streams or games on there. Yes, absolutely. Lord Cole asks, now how comes video games that are in early access can use unsolicited content suggestions from fans, but AMG or FFG can't? Licensing. It all comes down to licensing. What are the agreements? What are the contracts? For board games are very archaic. They're very, very much keep to themselves. They want their own things. It's very competitive. So because it's so competitive, they don't want that type of social interaction. Will that change in the future? I have no idea. I definitely agree with you that it seems pretty archaic and not a good way to interact with the community, but that's what the stance is. So until that changes, that stance won't change. Not the expansions for Clone Wars have been out for a while now. How do you think Imperials have changed? Anyhow, for TIE Phantoms, I think TIE Phantoms are still garbage. I love the little buggers. I think Cloak is a cool mechanic, but just with no method or ability of really to soup up or beef up your TIE Phantoms, other than kind of Salone, they're just not great. There's just so many other things that are just better than them, and the biggest issue is the double red die. It's so hard to balance around that. I don't understand why they gave him double red die. Personally, I really wish they hadn't done that. I wish they had done something else, but it is what it is. What's my favorite CIS ship? Oh man, Magnificent, hands down. That beautiful medium base bastard is so is so cool and so much fun to play with. There's so many different ways to build and play with that kit. I think it's great. I mean, and the Recusant is super fun too. It's so hard to pick a favorite. All the Confederate ships are all just so unique and have different builds and so many cool things you can do with them. I feel like it's a very well balanced faction. I can't say the same thing for Grand Army of the Republic. I'm not a big fan of, like, do you want all these cool things to work? We'll spend these 15 plates all at the same time, but don't drop any of them, otherwise you'll just lose. And just like, oh man, it's just so complicated. Not that Republic isn't good, it definitely just takes more of a certain kind of brain set to make that faction work. It's a brain skill set that I don't have. I just want to point guns at enemy and go pew pew pew. But Recusant, I think, is one of the most unique ships that we've seen in Armada. I almost think that Recusant's and Magnificence might even be a little too good, but that's personal opinion. I'm not certain if there will ever be any changes to them. Kravik was sad and drunk, I think, when he announced that. You mean like the Armada content? Yeah, I mean, everyone should express disappointment about Armada, not being prioritized. It is disappointing. It is sad. But that doesn't mean the game is dead or that they canceled it. It's not dead or canceled. They just can't prioritize on it right now. And I get that from a business standpoint. You only have so many resources. I know that they're not happy with that either. Just so you guys know, it's not like they're happy to make that announcement. It's not like, oh boy, here we go announcing this thing to our player base. But they can only do what they can do. I know that they are doing their best for all of the game systems. It's just unfortunate that, yeah, Armada has to take a backseat right now. Looking for your opinion, the best you can give, this is a question I got, the best you can give on the future of Armada with AMG. I think I just kind of touched on that a little bit, is it's not dead. There is a future of Armada. I just don't know what that future is going to be. I know that they are wanting to do stuff with it. They're not giving up on it. It's just that, again, they have to take priority. So I know what I would love to see if Armada is, of course, new expansions announced, or if nothing else, like product or something. I know a lot of the community has put out suggestions about, well, what about upgrade card only packets, or just OP packets with hard to get upgrade cards, or just something, anything. So I would like to believe that they will have some plan for something Armada related within the next year, is my hope, and I hope that they don't take longer than that, but we'll have to see. And the final question I have here off to the side was, I'm living in France and very bad be able to get to your time zone. He asks, here are some of my questions. What's the biggest missed opportunity I have witnessed as a judge or a player? That's a hard one to answer. Biggest missed opportunity, I would say in general, is when you are a defensive player and an offensive player does something, and then you as a defensive player, in an attack, you forget to force the attacker to do something. I think the biggest example of that I can think of is like Emperor Palpatine Officer. A lot of people forget to do that upgrade card and force the attacker to have to exhaust the card. I think the biggest missed opportunities I see is when a player is attacking another player. It's concentrate fire. It's well, the SSD, the perfect example of this. I definitely feel like this is the one in most recent memory. Was at the Lone Star Open. The SSD player forgot to reveal his command dial, and he had already moved on to a second attack. When he was like, "Oh, I forgot to reveal my command dial. It's now concentrate fire. Now I want to use my concentrate fire on this attack." And unfortunately, I had to tell him, like, "Look, man, you missed that opportunity. I'm sorry. Like, you can only reveal your command dial when your ship activates, not in the middle of your second attack when you're shooting someone, because one, that potentially could have influenced that player's decision about on your first attack about what defense tokens he could have used or other interactions or something of that nature, or something that you could have done. And like, unfortunately, it's like you're way past that. Like, if it had been his first attack and he revealed that command dial, I likely would have given it to him, depending on, again, circumstance, but not when you're so far past that timing window. I can't. Sorry, it's like, sorry, man, you forgot to reveal your command. And that definitely would have been something, very helpful for him, because he had Ravager, so that's 2 dice he's missing out of his attack pool. So he wasn't able to kill the ship. The ship was left on like 1 hull. So, I mean, that would have left him, maybe kill that ship and win the game. But yeah, that's just an unfortunate thing, that after you've been playing for so long, your brain just starts forgetting stuff, and it just makes it difficult. And that, me as a judge, like, to even like to be look up and see that and be like, yeah, man, sorry, like, this is what the rules state. You missed your opportunity to declare what you do, and if your dial, whether that was going to be used as a dial or used as a token, even though for SSD they get the dial and the token, rules are still rules. You still have to make the declaration, and you way shot past that. So understandably, he was frustrated and he was upset. And not that he was upset with me, upset with themselves that they had missed that. And it was, the other player had it within their rights to be like, yeah, man, I'm not going to give that to you right now. That doesn't help me. That hurts me. And it sucks that you forgot that, but it's not my fault you forgot that. It's why I always tell players, always think about every step and proceed through every step in your brain. I know I get excited to shoot, and sometimes I'll blow past things like my repair command or my repair token. But I've already started shooting ships, and of course, players or my opponent won't give me my repair commands, because that's gonna influence what damage cards I'm healing, or where I'm putting shields and things of that nature. So always just sucks to see. So that's probably the biggest one, because that SSD player, it probably would have placed first if he hadn't missed out on that, because that was one thing, and then he quickly made like 2 other errors in succession that didn't help him out. And that's what happens when you've been playing, 4 rounds the first day, 3 rounds the second day, and yeah, it takes a lot of mental preparation. All right, I think I've touched on that enough. What list do you love to play, even if it's not competitive? I don't really have an answer to that question. I have not played a whole lot of Armada in the last year and a half. I mainly play Separatists now. I think Separatists are super fun. I think they're one of the most unique factions now. I mainly play Separatists and Imperials. I don't really have a specific type. I think there's enough fun in list creation. You can create a variety of different things with everything right now. His next question is, can you give a combination of cards which would destroy the game as we know it if we remove all constraint based on faction ship size keyword? Yeah, I mean, there's a tournament that I saw that they allowed faction mixing, and this was before Yavaris was nerfed. They had a Yavaris, Merrick Steel, Jendon, Adar. So they had Yavaris, they had Colonel Jendon, they had Merrick Steel, and they had Adar Talon. And it was this, Merrick Steel pretty much took out like a medium base ship all by himself. It's just ridiculous, like from full health to dead with all those things. And it was just, ridiculously broken. There's a reason why cross faction isn't allowed, or certain interactions and things. But there's a lot of different combinations that are just so game breaking once you remove faction restriction. If you could recommend another game, minis or not, Star Wars or not, what would it be? I already talked on like the Drop Fleet Zone, Drop Fleet Commander. That seems pretty cool. I definitely have been looking at that for a while. I'm in the BattleTech. I mainly collect the figures. I love the little stompy robots. I just backed Earthborn Rangers, or not just backed. I had backed during their Kickstarter Earthborn Rangers. I'm really excited about Earthborn Rangers. I love cooperative games like that. So really, really excited to get into that. I really have not put too much time or effort into other minis. I like Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven is fun again, cooperative kinds of games. Yeah, I really haven't put too much time and effort into anything else other than I like Red Dragon Inn. You probably see my big box of Red Dragon Inn up there. I love Secret Hitler. Secret Hitler at Lone Star Open, we had a full 10 players playing Secret Hitler, and it got really ruckus. We played till like 1:30 in the morning or something like that. It was late, and the hotel staff were giving us all sorts of mean stares. They're like, go to fuck to sleep. All right. Let's see here. Get back to the chat. Do you think the Superstar Destroyer is dead, competitively speaking? Nathan, if you haven't seen my videos at the Lone Star Open, there's a Superstar Destroyer there that it ultimately placed second, but it was at top table in first place through the entire tournament until the very last game. I mean, it was smashing everything out of its way. I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe it. At the start of the tournament, I saw the Superstar Destroyer, and I was all like, somebody asked me, like, oh, do you think that will place anywhere? And I'm like, honest opinion, like, I don't think so. It's a Superstar Destroyer. And then this guy just proceeded to just take his fist and just punch everyone out of his way. He just pretty much was wielding that Superstar Destroyer and just stabbing people with it. And just, I couldn't believe that he was consistently just tabling his opponents over and over and over again. Because his first game he had played, and like, oh, he clubbed a seal. That's a new player. I mean, even though he's a new player, if you haven't played the SSD or have a plan on how to beat it, like, it will stomp on your face if you're not prepared for it. But at this point, I figured most people were ready for SSDs, but I guess not. And then I found out later that player for that Lone Star Open, that was his first official competitive tournament, and also he had only been playing Armada for like a year and a half, but for almost the entire time that he's been playing just Superstar Destroyer. So like, he knew to a T how to play Superstar Destroyer. So I think that when you are that in that mindset and you just know the exact move your opponent will make and the moves you need to make to win, that all comes down to practice and experience. So that's why he was able to do so well. Do I think that the SSD ultimately is going to win at major big tournaments where there's a lot more experienced players? I don't think so. But I think that this will drive people to reevaluate the SSD and see where that kind of falls in that competitive structure. I don't think it will ever take first place at like a Worlds or something like that. But could you definitely place with it? I think that this individual has shown that you can, with a certain specific build archetype. Who's my favorite CIS commander? Oh man, I love messing around with all of them. They all have a role. I know a lot of people love Freedom Bot, as they call them, or TF 1770 or 26 or whatever. I actually haven't played with that one yet. I love Martuk. Just more red dice is more red dice, and more red dice is always good, especially with combat hard cells. It's just ridiculous. I probably have played more Martuk than anyone else. I think Dooku is trash. Dooku is such a trash commander. Just put him next to Constantine until Raid becomes any useful, or until Separatists actually get a Raid squadron. You just can't use Dooku very effectively, I feel like. So yeah, I think Dooku is awful, but probably Martuk is the one I've played the most, followed by Trench. I definitely have built a lot of just super silly Grievous lists. Grievous, I think, is good. A lot of people initially put down Grievous and didn't think he's all that good, but I think Grievous you're going to see a lot. Martuk you're going to see a lot. Obviously, Freedom Bot. by and large, all the CIS commanders are good. You know, they're good and fun to play. Sorry if this mask before. Will we be doing any last wave cards soon, or soonish? Again, I answered at the beginning of the stream. I want to do videos on all the new upgrade cards. I've just been super busy. This is my main work time where I make my money. My winter time is where things slow down. I have more time to focus on that. It just comes down to the fact I just don't have time. I have a lot of stuff going on. So I do apologize about how slow my channel has been, but I'm trying to prioritize myself and what I need to get done before, you know, doing videos and stuff like that. I'm going to try in September to see where I can fit in some videos and things of that nature. Hobo says, Battletech is fantastic. I love the new sculpts. I hope you enjoy your Kickstarter. Yeah, the Battletech, I mean, I've got them. You probably can't see them. I have a whole shelf over here with all of them. I get them, and then I don't even really play. Like, Battletech is the type of game where, like, do you love rolling 6-sided dice? Do you like rolling more of those? Do you like going through table upon table of dice rolls to finally get a result? And Battletech is the game for you. So it's I love it. It just takes so long to play a game of Battletech, and I really don't have anyone around that plays Battletech. Here I played last time I played was at Gen Con with Schmitty, and that was a lot of fun, but even that took quite some time to play one game. Who was the player playing the SSD? I think his name was Eric. Do I have that listed somewhere? Hold on, I might have his name listed somewhere. He lives in Texas. Let me look. Bring this up. I should have that. The lists. Oh, not that one. Here we go. Trenton. Yeah, his name was Trenton, and the admiral he was running for the SSD was Gergerod. I'm pretty much an advocate of, if you're running an SSD without Gergerod, why? I really do think if you want a winning list, you got to have Gergerod on your SSD. It's the only way you can actually get that front pointed anywhere to be able to shoot stuff. But part of the reason why he was being successful with it is that he was running Gergerod with the Admiral Ozzel officer, so it allowed him to get that bonus movement and then really jank the SSD to where it needs to go, and then of course he would activate and then continue to be where he needed to point to accomplish things. He had a 10-point bid, so he was a total of 390. So yeah, he was always choosing first if he was given the option, which he outbid everyone else there, so he always chose to go first because he wanted that Ozzel bonus movement to get where he needed to go, which almost always placed him in range of something for him to be able to shoot out of his front at the start, and then again reposition his SSD to be where he wanted it. He was catching a lot of people off guard with that Ozzel movement with Gergerod. Muzzy asks me, why do I choose Armada over X-Wing? So when I was first looking into getting into a competitive miniatures game that was Star Wars related, obviously the first thing I saw was X-Wing. I'm like, oh, cool, starfighters, that's neat. But where's like the big capital ships? Where's like the big ship? I want Star Destroyers. I want cruisers and this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, oh, well, X-Wing is just starfighters. Like, oh, okay, well, I'll still look into that. And of course I saw Armada, and I was like, okay, well, now that I see that there's both, which actually is more fun for me to play. And then I played a game X-Wing, and I remember I had rolled this roll, and it was like, oh man, I'm going to do all this damage. This is great. And then the guy rolled his defensive dice, and then it's like, oh nope, you actually don't get to do anything. I'm like, what? But I rolled this awesome attack. Why can't I do anything? Well, I evaded it all. I rolled my defensive dice, and you do no damage. And I was like, that's fucking stupid. I said that. I just thought that was just the dumbest thing in the world, that it takes random chance for me to even roll a good attack. And then just as equally random chance took that all away, and there was nothing I could do about it. And that immediately turned me off to X-Wing. And it's the same reason why I don't get into Legion. I hate defensive dice. I hate random chance determining what damage does or doesn't happen. I understand, like, evade is fine. Like, you know, when the other player has abilities or things, like, I instantly can see and recognize, like, okay, based on what they have, I can make this plan to try to beat that, like rerolls and stuff. But to just have that in X-Wing, just that attack, and then he just picks up some dice, and I can't plan around that, and then he just canceled all my damage. I'm like, oh, okay, that didn't feel very great. I don't like that. I'm going to do Armada. So I really like Armada's system of knowing that even if you have the ability to negate some dice and things from one attack, well, guess what? I'm trying to plan multiple attacks, multiple things. I'm trying to overheat those defense tokens or abilities so that I know that, you know, even if my first attack doesn't do so great, my follow-up attack I know is actually going to push damage through. So that's where I really like the strategic portion of Armada, of planning steps and turns in advance, compared to X-Wing, which is consistently reevaluating everything on the fly every single minute of every single action that's happening. So it just came down to one, hating defense dice, and two, the type of game that I wanted to play. I wanted to play more of the strategic Armada type of gameplay rather than the fly by the seat of your pants that X-Wing is. And there's people who love both systems and play both systems and enjoy both systems. I don't knock people who love X-Wing. I get why X-Wing is exciting because everything's changing in the moment, which requires, you know, all, you know, different changes and stuff like that. But for me personally, that's just what I'm not so much into. Do you think the SSD or the interdictor is weaker competitively? Yes and no. I mean, ultimately, I don't think the SSD is ever going to play super high competitively in a very elite tournament field. I definitely think it can place high if the competition or players they come up against aren't, if there isn't enough people who know how to beat SSDs. Interdictors, I think interdictors are obviously the combat interdictorship type is garbage. Don't ever fly that type. But the interdictors in general, I think, are very competitive. I mean, there are a couple list types that obviously combine them with Onigers that makes them super silly. But I definitely feel like interdictors are competitive. They definitely can still be in a competitive list. At which point do you consider a list to be indecent? 7 hammerheads, 3 ISDs, 10 squads. I mean, a list is a list. I don't think there's ever going to be a point where, like, if you bring something, if you have it, bring it. Like, if that's what you want to play, it doesn't make that list good or bad. In some cases, it may not even make it fun to play with, even if you're the person playing it. Like, example of that is like double Onager, triple Onager. Like, nobody has fun. Neither the player playing those fleets or playing against it is having fun. That's my honest opinion. But if people want to bring stuff like that and to play it and just be silly, sure, absolutely. I don't think that there's indecent lists. As I mentioned before, earlier in the stream, I do feel like that if you're a veteran, experienced player and you show up with an Onager to a casual game night or to a tournament where all it is a bunch of newbies and all you do is you just take that Onager and make them have a miserable time, that makes you the butthole. Don't do that as a veteran player. Do not drive away new players or new players away from Armada because you bring bullcrap that's super fine-tuned competitive and they're bringing just random stuff that they think is fun because they don't know any better. Like, you're not helping them and you're not helping yourself and you're not helping your community when you do that. Don't bring Onagers to super casual game night. Have I seen the Rainbow Six Siege board game? It has a chess timer rule, so you only have around 30 minutes of thinking. Every time you lose an operative, you lose time. I haven't seen it, but that's I'll write that down to check that out. At this point, I'm going to wrap this up here. I didn't realize I've been talking for like almost 2 hours now, and I got stuff to do for later in my day. I think this has been really fun, and I hope that y'all have been enjoying this and having a good time. Any tips you can share for New Republic player? Have a Venator in your fleet. The Venator with the defensive retrofit. I think that's a Venator 2. Is it a Venator 1 or Venator 2? Let me see. Venator 2. Start with a Venator 2 with thermal shields. That should be if you're a brand new Republic player, that should be a core ship in your fleet. And then run also with an Acclimator, and then mix and match any sort of concierge or peltas to your discretion. I definitely feel like if you're a new player, that combo of Venator Acclimator, it's bread and butter, and there's so much you can do with just that, just to start with. As for like a commander, Bale is pretty standard, like super newbie friendly commander. Bale or Tarkin. I really don't recommend Obi-Wan Kenobi as a commander you start with, because actually, as simple as Obi-Wan Kenobi's commander ability is, it's not an ability that you should just use on the first time you get attacked, kind of a deal. Like it does take some thought and planning to utilize Obi-Wan Kenobi at its most effective. So I don't typically recommend Obi-Wan Kenobi as a brand new player commander. I recommend Tarkin or Bale. Yeah, Muzzy, I can understand why it's become more challenging. And I feel like that's the same for X-Wing Legion. Yeah, I mean Legion. Oh man, Legion is just like I can never keep up with whatever is going on with Legion. It's just like there's always just like here's 15 expansions all at once, and it's like okay, well how does that how do you balance that? And then I found out that you don't. Or rather, I know Atomic Mass Games has been they mentioned I think that they're trying to do more with Legion and look into issues with Legion. X-Wing is pretty well refined at this point, especially since they got their second edition. I would love to see a second edition for Armada personally, just because I just think that there's some systems in Armada that just you could use an update and fresh coat of paint. Peter asked me Martuk or Trench for I don't know what you mean by that. I personally love both of those commanders, but I play more with Martuk if that's what you're looking for. Just because who doesn't like adding more red dice to their attacks and throwing more dice? Because who else is even an option? Yeah, I already mentioned that Dooku is trash. Everyone else is really competitive and good. It just depends on what you want to play with. Have I seen people using Commander Beck? Yes and no. I know that Beck is still a card that people are still exploring and trying to fit into certain aspects and things. I don't think Beck is useful on larger command ships, like Command 3 ships or Command 4 ships. I think Beck is best used on Command 1 ships, and in some certain situations, Command 2 ships. I think Beck. I've used Beck Arcadins with engine techs because that is just so hilariously good. To always, for me, I will run an Arcadins, command Arcadins with engine techs, and when you use Beck to get that navigation token, or not a token, but to resolve the navigate as a token, it allows you to make your initial movement at speed 2, and then you make your engine techs movement. You can always do that every single turn. They can't be stopped. And then I'll either have like a squadron token to activate, or the spec squadron to activate one squadron to throw around, or I'll do concentrate fire if I want to reroll, or if I need to repair and move some shields around. Because Beck is just great for Arcadins. It's really good for Arcadins, I feel like. And I've messed around with Beck on like a Gladiator, I think. Not too much more past or beyond that. I think Beck is still definitely being explored. Oh yeah, so Peter, if you're building a first-time list, I don't recommend Trench. Trench is definitely a bit more planning in skill for than what you're looking for. I would definitely recommend Martuk. In terms of what to build, hard cell battle refits with just LLT or Link Turbo Laser Towers is pretty much all you need. Because then you're throwing a bunch of red dice, and then you've got rerolls from that. And the reason why I say that is because the hard cell battle's got the 3 red die in the front, it's got the 1 red die out the side. So unless you're being obstructed, like your sides is going to be a 2-die attack, or your front's going to be a 4-die attack, and those battle cell battle refits are just with LLT are just really good. I've seen some people recommend slave turrets on them. If that's an option, you definitely could do that. Munificence with LLT. I mean, pretty much just if you bring in Martuk, bring battle cells or just ships with LLT. I mean, everything in the game pretty much can take a turbo laser slot. The only things that can't is the hard cell transport. Everything else can take LLT on it. So, I mean, that's pretty much bread and butter to start with. If you want to try to fit into a fleet where you're bringing a fleet command with intensify firepower, whether that be on a Providence or taking like a Recusant and a Flag Bridge for a one-time turn of intensify firepower, you could definitely do something like that too. Yeah, I like Thrawn. Thrawn is somebody that I typically play the most of, besides some back in the day when I was playing a lot of Salone. All right, that's about 2 hours. That's about my attention span time frame that I can dedicate to doing this. Thank you for the questions that I got submitted from Discord, elsewhere, the questions on here. If you have any other additional questions or anything, obviously you can make comments afterwards. I'll try to come back and take a look at those. You all are fantastic. I really enjoy doing this, and I hope this kind of fills some of that Armada gap of not having Armada at the MiniStravaganza. I still encourage you to participate in the MiniStravaganza if you're capable of doing so. Show support that, yeah, even though you don't have Armada on the schedule, please in the future have Armada and otherwise. But you all are fantastic. I appreciate you showing support on the channel. I'm going to try, like I always say, to get more content out to everybody. And yeah, no, I appreciate you, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, that was the wrong button.